Gelek, we are here at the venue of the second International Tibet Youth Forum organized by Department of Information and International Relations of Central Tibetan Administration. And this year the forum is hosting 105 Tibetan youth from 13 different countries around the world, mainly comprised of members and coordinators of Voluntary Tibet Advocacy Group. The group is the wing under the department which works toward strengthening the Tibet advocacy and garner more international support for Tibet. And for this conversation, I've invited two of the regional VTAG coordinators from the US and the Netherlands. And I have Mr. Tenzin from the US and Ms. Yeshe Gelek from the Netherlands. So welcome to our program.
Thank you so much.
So to start with, can you introduce your regional VTAG and the status of the membership right now?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's good to be back on Tibettv. Well, to introduce my region would be pretty long just because we have 50 states. I represent the United States of America. I represent 50 states. So the membership has been stagnant, I would say, around 80 members. But what has been happening is that within those 80 members, more and more members are becoming more engaged, right? So the numbers might stay the same, but the quality of the members and the engagement has been going up, which has been great. Yeah.
And what about you, Ishla?
For me, I'm from VTAG, the Netherlands, and since last year, after the International Tibet Youth Forum, we definitely have an increasement in our active members, and also in other countries in Europe, I think we have about 50 new members. So I think the International Tibet Youth Forum last year definitely gave Tibetan youth inspiration and motivation to become active in Tibetan advocacy.
One of the main responsibility of VTAG member is to initiate advocacy campaigns in your country and to garner strong support for Tibet, right, from the international community. And also you need a strong commitment to work for the Tibet advocacy, commit for Tibet advocacy, right? So can you share with us some of the campaigns or the activities that you have as a coordinator, as a member of VTAG have done from the last year?
Yeah, so before I dive deep into the specifics, maybe a quick overview of how I explain VTAG and what the role of VTAG is within the Tibetan movement, right? The one example I give is that we try to be a mini ICT and a mini Office of Tibet. So what does that mean? Well, ICT and Office of Tibet, what do? They build relationships and they put out policy. They build relationships with policymakers, Speaker Emeritus Nancy Pelosi, et cetera, et cetera. Through those relationships that they leverage, they put out policy, right? So what happens is that when they do that, they have a true impact, right? A lasting, long impact. So, but they're at capacity. They're over capacity. They can't reach the individual 50 states. So that's where the role of the individual state VTAGs come into play, whether it be Washington, D.C. VTAG, Virginia VTAG, California VTAG, et cetera, right? So that's what they do. Why? Because they have the on-ground knowledge, they have the local knowledge, they understand the culture, right? And that's super important. Through that culture, through those shared experiences, they can build those relationships and rapport with their legislators, with their lawmakers. And they have done that, right? So we're in that initial stage of building relationships, right? Nothing practical has gone out yet, because when you want lasting impact, the sort of impact that we want, it takes time. It takes many years, and that's the sort of time horizon we have. We have that patience. We have a 2 to 3 year horizon. So right now we're all in the building the relationship phase, right? Also building the capacity around specific parts of the U.S. We're focusing on 4 or 5 different states to utilize our capacity. But specifically, for example, VTAG Virginia, it's still very introductory, still in the early stages, in the beginning stages. But one campaign that we're working on is that a lot of the Tibetan youth in our Virginia community go to Tibetan Sunday school, right? There they learn Tibetan. Unfortunately, sometimes they don't want to go to Tibetan Sunday school, right? It's a burden, it's a lot more homework, and that creates a sort of an internal conflict, right? So our goal is to give them extra motivation to go to Tibetan Sunday school. How are we doing that? High schoolers in Virginia have to take 2 to 3 years of a language. But if they know another language, whether it be Hindi, Chinese, even Sanskrit, they can take a test and not take a language for 2 to 3 years. So that's what we're trying to do for Tibetan. Young Tibetans who understand Tibetan, learn how to speak and write Tibetan, if they take a test, then they don't have to take a language. That gives them extra motivation if we're able to successfully do that, right? But right now we're in the research and introductory meeting stage, right? So it's going to be a 2 to 3, maybe even 4-year process. So that's one example, one campaign. Outside of that, campaigns that we come together, all 50 states on, is like perhaps social media campaigns during specific times of the year, Tongar, things like that.
Coming to Isla, can you also tell us what are all the other activities or the campaign that you have initiated as a coordinator in Netherlands?
As in the Netherlands, we are more active in activities that will apply to whole Europe. So for example, last year after the International Tibet Youth Forum, we had an advocacy training and strategic meeting in Frankfurt. And there we gathered from many countries in Europe where we were talking about future initiatives and how we can do certain things and how we can cooperate and collaboration. And after that, we had many members lobbying and in their respective country in the parliament, and also after that we had this Tibet support group meeting in Brussels, where VTAG, where we had the opportunity to be able to also talk with the Tibet support groups and think about future initiatives, and also to network, because if we want to do something, we should use the network and also like other people's help. And then we had this campaign called EU for Tibet, which is a joint initiative by the Tibet Interest Group in the European Parliament, Office of Tibet Brussels, and of course International Campaign for Tibet Europe, and with the help of Tibet support groups and International Tibet Network. And in this campaign we had lots of VTAG Europe members lobbying in their respective country to get their European Parliament candidates to sign the pledge to support Tibet. So when they get elected, they promise to show their support and maybe in the future build up a Tibet interest group. And this went well. And even though our VTAG members in Europe, they tried their best. Of course, the results are not as we wanted, but I think definitely I see improvement and more activeness. And also this in the upcoming months, there will be a Tibet Lobby Days in Brussels, where I expect also VTAG members to be active.
But in general, you're living in Netherlands, right? So how do you see the Netherlands government support for the Tibetans? And I'm sure you must have gone out to reach out to the members of the parliament in Netherlands, right? So how do they see us, or how do they feel like supporting Tibetans there?
So if I would use the example of the EU for Tibet campaign, we had, I think, about 6 candidates to sign the pledge. So I definitely see improvement, because there were some young Tibetans who lobbied and they explained everything and they were really supportive. So I do see an improvement. But in general, I think in Netherlands as a whole, they are really intimidated by China, and they try to be kind of neutral, or they're such a big economic power, and we should contain a good relationship with them. So they don't really openly speak about Tibet, about the human rights. But I do think in the future it will get better. And also if we gain more skills at this conference forum, for example, we will be able to gain even more support from the Dutch Parliament.
Both of you were you attended the first forum, right, International Forum. I'd like to know the outcome from the first forum. How did it help you when you went back to your country in advocacy work?
Yeah.
How helpful was the first forum? And also, I'd like to add, what are the challenges did you face, if you had?
Challenges of VTAG. So I'll start off on the positive note. The best outcome from the conference and conference from these is not just the information. Like Doala said, we gain the skills, but she also mentioned the network, right? If you dissect what a network means, it's a web of relationships, right? So we trust one another, right? And that's super important because when you trust one another, you have each other's back, and you're more likely to work together, and that's super important because one person can't do any of this. So I think that's the main outcome. From that network, from those relationships, we have done everything we've done so far, right? And it's a good step in the right direction. Challenges, there's always challenges. VTAG is, I think it's a startup, meaning that it's basically brand new in the United States. I think in Europe, it was launched about 2 or 3 years ago, so they have a good foundation in Europe. But in the US, it's completely new. So there's some challenges just starting anything new, right? I think overall there has been support from everyone that I've discussed with. Mostly support. There's some criticism as always, but that's okay because you have to focus also on the positives as well. We have full support from the CTA, Office of Tibet. Also, a really good point is that we have support from all the Tibetan community organizations. So all the different states have their own Jidun Sokwas Tibetan community organizations. We have support from all of them. At least I've talked to most of them, and we have support from all the ones I've talked to, yeah.
And what about you, Ishla?
So what I noticed was that after last year's youth forum, more Tibetan youth were motivated, and they were trying to get to know more about VTAG, about how they can participate, how they can do more for the for Tibetan advocacy. And also, I think after the forum, we kind of created this national coordinator where we took the leadership to get the most out of VTAG. So to organize conferences or trainings, and also to discuss future initiatives. And I think this is really important because if we really want to achieve something, we should be really organized. Because without organizing, it will be quite hard. And also we try to have this meeting, national coordinator meeting, every week, and then we update each other, which I think is really important. And about, like, there are also always negative outcomes, but we try our best to handle those outcomes, and we also get lots of support, as just said, from Tibetan communities, but also, of course, CTA and other organizations, Tibetan organizations. Yeah.
So this is just the first day of the conference for the second forum, right? So, Tsedub, what do you expect or what do you aim to achieve from this? And we were talking earlier, and you said this time the conference, the forum is a little bit different. Can you tell us more? How do you see it?
First, it's gotten a lot better, meaning that the CTA has innovated. There's more hands-on training, so we actually get a chance and opportunity to apply the things we learn during the sessions in the morning, which is great. What I hope to achieve is that I hope to use this opportunity to sit down with my US VTAG members, right, and also non-US TAG members, and strategize, right, and plan, but then also take the first 2-3 steps here during this conference, right? I don't want just to plan. I want to actually start the execution now, because once you start the execution now, you get the ball rolling, the momentum goes, right? And I think that's one challenge that we had last year. We went back. We had a strategy. We had a plan, but we didn't execute fully. We executed a few things, which is great, better than nothing. But I would like to start the execution here rather than going back in the U.S. and reorganizing. I think another important thing Dola said is that CTA gave us a sort of a structure, but we innovated as well. We changed it. They gave us regional coordinators, right? But we started making national coordinators because we thought that was a better situation. So things like that, I think, is something that I have to debrief with my team because the U.S. is huge. I don't get a chance to see them in person, see them eye to eye, and I hope to do that here. Yeah.
So you're also like Tsedub this time. You also you're going to moderate event tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So what do you aim to achieve, and what are you looking forward for this forum?
So my moderate session will be with Franz Metzner from ICT US based, and his training will be about political advocacy. So what I hope with his training is that, because advocacy isn't an easy thing, it's also a vague term, I think, and I hope that first the term will be like people will understand what advocacy is, and then how they can apply to in their respective countries, and because we are all from different countries, so it won't be the same for everyone. And then just the basic steps on, for example, how to lobby and how to prepare for when you lobby, and the skills you need. I hope at least the basics will be covered tomorrow. Yeah, that's about it.
So these are my questions for this conversation, but if you have any information, important information that you'd like to add.
Yes, I have some. I want to let the people know who are watching the live broadcast at home, or maybe saw something pop up on our VTAG Instagram, that VTAG is open for every Tibetan youth. If you have any questions or if you want to know more, you can always ask anyone from VTAG. It's a really great platform to learn more about Tibetan advocacy, to do something. Because I know, like, I'm sure that every Tibetan youth must feel some kind of responsibility, some kind of sense of, oh, I want to do something. And I think VTAG is a great platform, and it's really approachable for everyone. So I encourage everyone, if you want to do something, reach out to VTAG.
Yeah, I think us VTAG coordinators can do a better job explaining what VTAG is and so forth. But if you've listened to this interview, you understand a little bit of what VTAG is. If you're curious, then give it a try, I would say. Contact one of us. Join VTAG. Join VTAG if you truly care about the Tibetan cause, if you care a little bit about the Tibetan cause, right? What we ask for is three things. Compassionate sense, some sort of intelligence, but the third thing, the most important thing, is consistency. Consistency in the sense that we don't ask for 10, 20, 40 hours a week. If you can only give us an hour, if you can only, not us, but the Tibetan peoples in Tibet, an hour, that's okay, right? But it's about doing something, because when you do that, when you take that little responsibility, that's where you'll find the meaning and happiness in your life. You truly will. That hour might feel like a burden, but when you look back 20, 30, 40 years, you'll tell yourself, when you look in the mirror, yes, I did a little bit. Especially us in the West, we're so comfortable, right? We're so comfortable. We have everything we need. So sacrifice is needed. A little bit of sacrifice is needed. And it truly isn't sacrifice. You're giving up something, right? But to give up is to give up, right? It's to give something up for a higher cause, right? So I think that's something good to remember, that a little bit of sacrifice is needed, a little of pain on your part is needed, because the Tibetans in Tibet have struggled. Gyalrong has done his part, more than his part, and now it's our chance and our opportunity to do something as well.
Okay, thank you, Tsedub and Yeshe, for coming to our program, and it was lovely talking to both of you.
Thank you so much.
This is the end of today's program of In Conversation with Tibettv. Thank you so much for watching.